Hey, what's going on, guys? Indy here with Ultimate 2 Reviews. So this is another unreviewed video, and basically this is not a video where I'm trying to review anything. I'm basically trying to say that unreviewed means that I'm giving you an entirely subjective video. I'm not looking to fairly review anything on this video. I'm looking to just give you guys my raw opinion after using a tool for a good length of time. Now, I've had both of these impacts now that I bought directly from Japan for quite a while now. I've actually used these for a couple of years, and I've been pretty happy with them at this point. But one question that I've kind of been wondering myself is, would I say to anyone that it's worth it to pick up tools from Japan like this? And that's kind of the question I've been wondering a bit myself too. Would I honestly buy these tools again knowing what I know now? Let's go through these tools a little bit, and we'll try to answer that question as best I can. So this is going to be the Makita TD173D. I got it in that really cool purple color, kind of one of the hardest colors to get from Japan. Definitely not the hardest. There's actually quite a number of colors that are like super rare to pick up. I know some of the gold impacts are pretty hard to find. There's a few other colors out there that are super rare, but the purple one is usually one of the more common colors, but just a lot more limited stock. And you'll see a lot of other YouTubers, of course, using the purple ones as well too, because they're kind of one of the more super unique colors you can find, and you can usually order them pretty quickly after the tool's released in Japan. Now, of course, this is the TD. Actually, is it TD in the US? Oh, sorry, it's XDT20. That's what this is now in the US as. Of course, you can buy these tools before they release the US version. So I've had this one up for a couple of years now. When, of course, the XDT20 only came out, I think, like last year. It's not been out very long. And this, of course, is Makita's new design, where they basically made it a more forward-facing impact. And I think absolutely genius idea. They put the controls at the back, which, you know, if you're using an impact, you know, this is great. It's right here. You don't need to be doing one of these and look up. You can just pop the controls from the back. Good to go. This is the Makita TD002G. I don't think this has actually been released in the US at all yet. This is the Gen 2, and it's kind of a complicated story. What Makita did with the XGT series, they released the Gen 1, which I did an entire video on that. Actually, did a couple of videos on comparing all three of the Makita XGT impacts. And I still think the first one they came out with is still the best one. It's got the most features, it's got the most power, and it's the cheapest. It doesn't make any sense at all. They released the Gen 2, sorry, not Gen 2, it's more like a Gen 1.5. Honestly, I would call it like a Gen 0.5. It's a bunch of steps backwards. They tried to make a more like, I guess, economically cheaper version of it. And I think it's just a total failure. I've got one here that I got in, and I never use it. It's such a basic impact driver, but yet you can't really buy it in a kit. It's a really weird move by Makita. They made a lot of weird moves with XGT anyways. But anyways, back to the TD002G. This is one of my favorite impact drivers. It's XGT, so this is the smallest battery you can get for it, which is kind of annoying. I wish they had some smaller XGT batteries. Like a 1.5 amp hour would be really cool for impacts. You know, give me like half the space on here like you can do with the LXT ones. But unfortunately, that's not an option. But anyways, though, this is the other option I got, and of course, the kind of that really cool, but yet hard to see kind of camo pattern on the top there. I went with yellow. I really like the yellow look on this thing. But I don't use XGT that much for impacts or drills. I mostly use XGT for like chainsaws, SDS hammers, the larger, you know, high heat, high energy, you know, stuff. I'm in Florida, so LXT down here overheats pretty quick when you're using outdoor power tools. XGT really solved that issue entirely, which I'm really surprised Makita did not really just, you know, run with XGT like that and just go all out, go crazy with it. But anyways, back to the LXT here. This is my everyday impact driver, and I keep this thing very clean. I don't abuse this thing at all. I'm very cautious with this thing because this thing was like, you know, well, I think it was almost 200 bucks, a little over 200 bucks there. Definitely was the most expensive impact driver I've ever purchased myself. Not cheap by any means, you know, and I did a few reviews on this thing. I think this is one of the best impact drivers on the market now. Well, it's tough because I think the Metabo HPT stuff is insane. The triple hammer stuff, they've really refined that really nicely. and I think there's a couple of things Makita could definitely do better. But when it comes to, you know, the TD173D, I have yet to even use the XDT20 because I've got no reason to. I've got the Japanese version. Why would I buy the US version? But that begs the question, though, is if you're saying, hey, Indy, should I buy the Japanese version or should I just go buy the US version? What would I say? Now, we've seen some reviews, of course, online. Project Farm did kind of a incorrect video is the best way I could say it. He compared a different model Japanese version to a different model US version, which is cool. You know, he was trying to compare the US version to the Japanese version. Cool, but he should have gotten, of course, the same version or same models of each one. Would make a lot more sense. But I have yet to really see any major differences. Yeah, it's made in Japan, cool, and reliability is hard to really prove in a review. You know, there's not really a good way to do it. You can show power, you can show features, you can show that kind of stuff, but Makita has been such a solid name for me anyways, that I've had almost no failures on my Makita tools. I've got so many Makita tools that I've got over the years. I keep buying more, you know. I did a video like 2-3 years ago where I showed off my entire Makita collection. It's only grown since then, which I probably should do another video on that because I've got even more Makita tools now. It's absolutely crazy. And, you know, Makita's got such a solid line, you know. If you were to say, hey, I'm going to take this version versus the US version and show you reliability, well, they're both going to last you a really, really long time. I can pretty much guarantee that. So is it worth the extra price for just reliability alone? Probably not, you know. It kind of comes down to a couple of downsides too, like the controls are in Japanese. So I don't really know what they mean. Yeah, I can use Google Translate and stuff exactly on there. I mean, you can kind of figure out by just messing with it, you know. Like, here's your speed control. This is going to be your, basically, some impact modes. You just kind of get and keep playing with it, you know, and find out what it does. And that's about the best way to do it, really. I mean, that's what you can do. But yeah, I mean, other than that, I mean, it's not like this thing is made out of gold and does the job for me, you know. I wouldn't say there's anything with this Japanese version that I'm like, oh my god, you gotta get the Japanese version, you know. The only thing that I would say would make it worth it is honestly the color options. That's about it, really. I mean, say color options and, of course, getting the newer models even sooner than they release the US versions. That's about it, you know. I don't really think there's any reason to buy those, you know. And when this thing first came out, when I first got this thing, I did an entire video saying, hey, I think Makita's gone too far and are charging way too much for this thing. I basically said, hey, is this thing worth the $200 price tag on this thing? And in that video, I kind of said no, which I still definitely agree with. I think it's definitely an expensive impact driver, and we are definitely seeing a ton of competition from the competitors now, especially like Metabo HPT, who they've been really doing an awesome job of refining some of their, you know, older impact drivers with the triple hammer stuff and the new versions. It's gotten so cheap now, so affordable. They're doing this lifetime warranty, which again, that's a can of worms there, which I've gone into that quite a bit in the past too. We're at the lifetime warranty as long as they keep making parts for it. That's their asterisk there. So as long as they have parts for it, they cover their warranty. The second they say, nope, we're not making parts, okay, that warranty just ended. That's how they can just be like, it's up till here and it's done. So lifetime warranty is what they call the lifetime of the tool. So make sure you're aware of that. Again, you have no warranty on this tool. Brings me to my next point here. I bought it from Japan. This tool doesn't exist in the US, so you got no warranty, which I'm not really worried about. I'm probably a couple hundred tools deep into Makita now after doing it for like 4 years into Makita, pretty solid now. And I've used the warranty 2 times. That's it. I burned up 1 battery, I burned up 1 drill. That's it. I've had no issues with Makita tools at all. I use them super heavy. I've got some tools that I've used that I've overheated like, I don't know, 30, 40 times, like some of the 36-volt chainsaws on some jobs. I mean, I just got those things like lava hot, you know, and they never have died on me. I sold them back, you know, on eBay after I used them for what I needed to use them for, and they're still rocking and rolling. So, you know, it's kind of one of those things where you're taking a risk, you're paying more money, but you're getting the made in Japan, you know, quality. You're getting, of course, the options for colors. That's about it. There's not really much else to it. And you, of course, you're getting access to a newer model a lot earlier. Would I say, you know, hey, you know, is it totally worth it? If you're a big Makita fan like I am, I mean, I'm never going to sell these tools. You know, these things are awesome. You can't buy a lot of these tools anymore unless you maybe went to Japan, or you found a nice, you know, maybe used one on eBay that is willing to import from Japan. There is some issue with the tariffs now affecting imports from Japan, so I have no idea how that works right now. I've imported a few things recently and just got absolutely nailed with tariffs. So I might say, hey, wait until that situation cools off, and then maybe we'll place a few orders. Just because you're going to, of course, pay a ton on extra tariffs. I know UPS is charging tariffs plus their broker fee because they are the broker, and a lot of times my broker fee was 2 to 3 times what the tariff was. So it made the importing anything right now pretty bad. I would not recommend it at all. If you wanted to ask, I'm sure in a few comments in the comments here are going to say, hey, would you go with the XGT version or would you go with the LXT version? I'm going to give you guys the exact same answer. I would say from a Tabo HPT, I like the 18-volt versions better than the 36-volt versions for impacts. Now, the XGT versions are a lot more refined than the LXTs. They have just, I think the feel is better, the motors are better. The XGT stuff is awesome. It's just that you don't have access to the smaller batteries like the LXT versions do. And of course, you're going to pay more for these impacts. They're just bulkier, bigger impacts. Do they put out more power? Marginally, and very, very little, you know. The only thing I would say that makes the XGT impacts worth it, especially this one, is the better heat dissipation. So say you're working on like roofing in Florida or the desert, you know, like Nevada or somewhere like in southern Texas, you know, I've heard of some guys told me that, hey, yeah, the XGT stuff does not overheat as easy as the LXT stuff. And I've seen it before, definitely, of impacts overheating, especially when you're putting in like self-tapping screws and you're doing a ton of them in a row. That would be your main difference there from what I've seen. But again, you know, an LXT impact is going to do a really good job for you anyways. So I wouldn't hesitate to go LXT over XGT for impacts alone any day. So other than that, you know, there's not a huge difference in these. I would say go LXT. Definitely for impacts. And, you know, at the end of the day, when it comes to should you buy the US version, should you buy the Japanese version, it's how big of a Makita fan really are you? I think that's going to be the big difference. It's definitely more of a novelty than anything at this point. From my experience using this thing like every day now for at least 1 or 2, actually, I don't think I might have this thing for almost 3 years now. I would say I haven't really noticed a big enough difference. Now, I like the new design of this. I would definitely pick up an XGT20, you know, the US version of this. Would I pick up another Japanese version? Yeah, definitely. But would I definitely go for the Japanese version over the US version? Not at all. To me, it's just a different color. It's just a different flavor is really all it is. Not really, in my opinion, worth it picking up the Japanese versions, paying the extra money for it, unless you really just want that really cool tool. So that's really about it, guys. You know, there's not really a whole lot to say about the Japanese versions after you test them, after you really use them. I don't really see a lot of other videos of guys that have actually used these things, you know, day to day for quite a while and kind of giving their 2 cents in these things. So that's kind of why I want to do this video. If you guys got any questions, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say on this stuff for the Japanese versions. They do hold up really well. I definitely wouldn't say they have any less, you know, durability or reliability than the US versions. That said, I don't have any real good way to say that, yeah, the Japanese versions, they're built better, they're built more durable, they're built tougher. There's no real way to really prove that, you know, and I mean, I've popped these things open. They look really similar on the inside as the US versions. I mean, I'm sure they're using all the same components. I can't really see them really, you know, oh, we're going to use different stuff for the Japanese versions and then the rest of the world gets something else. That would make obviously no, you know, logistical sense on Makita's part to, you know, have a totally different, you know, build quality in Japan and everywhere else gets the, you know, the same build quality, all the made in China stuff. But again, you know, I'm sure there's assembling them in Japan. The Japan market is definitely smaller, you know, of course, than say like the US or, you know, other parts of the world. So they don't necessarily need to build like, you know, just a crap ton of these, you know, for like the US market. So that's really where you're going to see the differences there. But other than that, yeah, I mean, I love using the tool. I think it definitely paid for itself really quick for what I do for work. And yeah, at the end of the day, I mean, pick up the latest Makita Impact, you know, US, Japanese version. Doesn't really matter, you know, unless you're a big Makita fan. It's kind of more of just like a labeling thing in my opinion, you know. It's like you're buying a new truck and you're like, you know, I want to pick up the appearance package, you know. Is it going to do anything different for you? No. Are you paying extra for it? Yes. Does it look different? Yes. Is that where the similarities end? pretty much. That's kind of what I have to say about that there. But yeah, that's about it, guys. XGT versus LXT, I pretty much say go LXT every time, unless you have the, a high heat scenario, of course, or you're just going all XGT at this point. Now, I will say, I probably should do another video on XGT. I mean, I think the popularity of that is waning very, very fast for a couple of reasons. We're not really seeing a lot of new releases of the tools. If you go on eBay right now, type in Makita XGT. Very few listings of stuff right now. That's just gone way down. I think we're seeing a real decline in XGT at this point. The few Home Depots near me that carry this stuff, man, it's all in clearance right now. They're not adding any more, as far as I can tell. I don't know. I think they came out of the gate swinging, but with higher pricing than they should have. I think that's what we're seeing now. So that's my 2 cents, guys. U.S. versus Japanese versions. Kind of whatever I can say there. That's about it, guys. So thanks for watching, guys. Take care. Have a great day. Stay safe out there.